Morning, everyone. There's a few more people popping in. Hi, folks. Okay, well, let's get started. We're right at 9:01 here, so let's get started because we've got a lot to go through.
Okay,
So
well,
welcome to KM and the AM, folks. Before we officially begin, I just want to note that if you do not want to be part of the conversation, or sorry, the recording, change your name to something innocuous and keep your video turned off. And I'll keep you anonymous during the recording. Um, Not that I've ever had anyone take us up on it, but it's a nice option to have in case you need it. Welcoming Ray Litvak of Writing Web Words to today's presentation. But before we begin, I want to acknowledge that we gather broadcast from KM and the AM is on Treaty 6 territory. We're in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, which is also the homeland of the Métis. We honor the ancestors and knowledge keepers of this land and recognize the meaningful knowledge exchange that meaningful knowledge exchange must be rooted in respect, reciprocity, and responsibility. We also recognize the land as mother, the earth, and as part of our shared commitment with the University of Saskatchewan, we honor and support Indigenous peoples, cultures, values, languages that belong to Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis. We invite each of you to acknowledge where you are joining from in the chat and say something about your own journey and how you reflect on where you're at on this earth. So welcome to KM in the AM, our Saskatchewan-based community of practice for people who care about knowledge mobilization, research communications, and creating real-world impact. This year marks our 10th anniversary, and we're celebrating with this special series of presentations featuring some of the most thoughtful voices across Canada. This anniversary series is made possible through the generous support of the Saskatchewan Network Environment for Indigenous Health Research, SASK-NIR, and the University of Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan NIR Network strengthens Métis and First Nations health research training and knowledge mobilization across the province. There are two research networks work alongside communities, researchers, and students to support self-determined Indigenous health research grounded in First Nations, Métis, and other Indigenous knowledges and priorities. We are grateful for their leadership and continued support of KM and the AM. Now, let's get down to it. Today, we are pleased to welcome Ray, as he's one of those experienced voices that we like to bring in to learn from. He's an experienced SEO copywriter and the most popular, most sexy, most sought after SEO copywriter in the Greater Toronto Area. His copywriting agency is helping organizations increase their online visibility through search-optimized content, otherwise known as SEO. And with over 17 years of experience, Ray empowers professionals to communicate clearly, connect with their audience, and drive real-world results online. And hopefully you'll walk away with a few tips and to get your content rising up higher in those search algorithms. So Ray, I'm going to hand it right over to you. And let's jump right on in.
Thank you,
Ray, did
Bonnie.
you want folks to hold their questions to the end, or would you rather take questions throughout?
I I prefer more of an interactive dialogue rather than a monologue. So
All right.
during the presentation, if there are questions that do arise, feel free to jump in and we'll address them there. Happy to do that. So before I start, let me just preface something that Bonnie said. She said I was one of the sexiest SEO copywriters in Toronto. And that's not according to me. It's according to ChatGPT and Perplexity. So one of the things that we will address is how to come up for certain search terms. And just on a lark, I was speaking with Bonnie the other day, and I said, I wonder if I come up as a couple of things, the smartest, the sexiest, so and so. And sure enough, there I was. It says right there, so it must be true. But that's part of the, I guess, wonder of these models, search engines and LLMs, which we'll be addressing today on both levels, is that you do have the power to come up for certain terms, phrases, topics. And that's what it's all about these days, is making your information, your knowledge, uh, accessible to a wider audience or those people that you want to see it through Google, through Google Scholar, through Perplexity, Search-GPT, Claude, all the LLMs out there. So by the time you walk away today, you'll have a good understanding of how to do that because it's all connected. So that said, I'm thrilled to be here and I appreciate the opportunity. Um, let's get into it. Let me open up the presentation and share it. Okay, and where is the Canva? Bear with me. Computer's a little slow, but we will get there. Okay, here we are. Can everyone see this? Okay, so today's presentation is Unlocking Insights, the Art of Search-Optimized Knowledge Mobilization. And again, I want to thank Bonnie for making this possible. Uh, Bonnie and I collaborate, we work very well together. So we first met, just a little background, through the Professional Writers Association of Canada a couple of years ago back. I won't tell you how long, I don't want to age us, but that's where our origins began. And we work interactively because I'm a very good SEO, search engine optimizer. Uh, Bonnie has really taken the lead when it comes to what's called Gen AI, generational AI, or generative AI. She's what I call, I guess in high school, she'd be the prom queen. Here, she's turned herself into the prompt queen. And prompts are going to be very, very important as we go along through the presentation. Prompts are the equivalent of typing in a search query, but we're using the prompts in the LLMs to come up for certain items, places, things, in this case, information that you want to disseminate. So moving on. Okay. Whoop, a little ahead of myself. So what is SEO? SEO is making content rank in search engines. Now there's a new term as well called AIO. So SEO is search engine optimization, AIO, artificial intelligence optimization. So in a sense, you want to optimize for both. And when I say both, Google is the main player right now, but Google, Bing, you could probably mention a couple other traditional search engines. The new ones on the block, maybe not so new to some, newer to others, Search-GPT, Claude, Perplexity, Copilot, Gemini, and there's more and more coming along the way. So that said, focusing in on SEO, there's three categories. So we're going to talk about off-page SEO. These are things that happen off your website that you can help to influence it to rank in search engines. That's a category unto itself. Then there's on-page SEO, which is what we're going to focus on today. And this is where you have the opportunity to really impact how your information appears in search engines. So on-page SEO is the focus, as well as a third, which is called local SEO. So local being, for example, you just have a 20, 30 kilometer radius of people that you want to find your information. Could be a local college. It could be something very, very local. As far as business goes, your laundromat. Uh, you don't want to reach all of Canada. You want to reach your area, your neighborhood. So we'll touch on all local, provincial, national, and there's even international SEO too. So just to be clear, uh, Google does reward structured, scannable, high quality content. So that's never going to change. There's a trend right now. A lot of people are using Gen AI or these LLMs to generate all their content. Now, Google's getting smarter and is understanding what content is human centric, what content is Gen AI centric. So there's always going to be a need for someone like me and Bonnie behind the scenes to make that content human, to humanize it, give it a personal touch, and ensure that there are no errors and it's correct, especially when we talk about higher education, we talk about healthcare. The information must be correct. So we talk about standardizing content, more importantly, standardizing your content. And I'm going to be jumping back and forth between on page and off page. So something like a nap here. A nap is nice during the day, but in the context of SEO, it stands for consistent name, address, phone number across all your digital properties, your website, your Google business profile, and if you're on other listings, whether they be uh, health related, health science, educational. So all these directories, citations is a fancy name for directories. You want everything to be asymmetrical. So it all speaks the same language. Uh, that ensures a consistent tone and style, improves the user experience, and it tells Google that, okay, this is a legitimate company, organization, institution, and they're talking the same language. That really does help. And again, if there are any questions throughout, feel free to jump in. Uh, Bonnie referenced Lee Auden. Lee Auden says, content is the reason search began in the first place. And that's why we're here. So before you start, let's keep the end in mind. Who is your audience? Know your audience. Uh, Nothing happens until you know your audience. And at Writing Web Words, we don't put pen to paper until we know exactly who we're writing for, what the goals are, what we want the end user to get out of it. That helps for a good user experience. It helps for Google to understand what your content is about. So keep the end in mind. We talk about personas, persona, and Bonnie and I recently did a presentation for a very well-known hospital in the GTA, and it turns out they had several personas. One for their internal staff, one for it was a teaching hospital as well. So for those students that were coming here from other countries to learn, and for the public facing, for people that were looking for their particular hospital and services. So you can have a number of personas for a smaller company like mine, one persona, we know who we're targeting, and we write content specifically for them, and they find us as a result. So consider the who, what, where, when, why, and how of the content. And another thing that a lot of, well, I would say, people trying to get found online, they don't take into account search intent. Search intent of who? Well, the search intent of your user. So search intent usually falls into one of three categories. It could be navigational. So, for example, someone knows that they're looking for the University of Saskatchewan. They're looking for Canadian Blood Services. So that's navigational. They're going to type that in. You're going to come up. They have a name in mind. Then there's informational. They don't have a particular service or category in mind. It's generic. So let's say Canadian Blood Services. How do I donate blood? Where do I donate blood? You would probably, if you're Canadian Blood Services, want to have those questions on there. And structured properly, written properly. And then there's transactional content. And that is sort of what it sounds like. So think e-commerce sites. If you're selling something, if you're advertising something, you want them to download a document, you want them to buy something, even sell, buy, sell. So eBay, think about a little company called Amazon, very, very transaction oriented. It's all about selling products and services. So attending these and considering these will help for a very good search experience. And Google and the LLMs are becoming more and more focused on what's called user experience. It's all about the user's experience. And they measure metrics. For example, uh, someone comes to your site, they found you. Now, how long are they staying on your site? Is your site interesting? So that's dwell time. How many pages are they clicking through? Uh, Click-throughs from search engines or LLMs. That counts too. So a lot of these metrics are determining where your site and how your site ranks in Google and LLMs. So take a step back and think about how would my potential user or searcher find my product? What value do I provide? What questions are they asking? Answer those questions. Common mistakes in SEO. So, and again, we're talking about on-page SEO. So keyword stuffing, and we do have a pretty funny example coming up. Keyword stuffing, back in the day, early 2000s, there was a keyword meta tag, and it was just a matter of taking that meta tag and filling it with multiple terms, 10, 20, 100 terms related to your product or service. And it was that easy. Not today. In fact, they don't even have that anymore. It's a lot more sophisticated today. So keyword stuffing is a no-no. Missing title and meta description tags, and we'll cover those. Those are some really, really quick wins. If you're looking for something quick that's going to help you, maybe even jump from the 21st page to the first page, I've seen that happen just by adjusting the title and description tag. That can happen in a real short amount of time. Ignoring headings. So headings and summaries. Headings, think about the good old days before the internet. We picked up a newspaper, Toronto Sun, Globe and Mail, National Post. The most important heading at the top of the page, what we call above the fold, and then descending information along. So in this type of situation, we're talking about above the scroll. You want your most important information above the scroll. Once they start scrolling, some of them don't, so you got to capture their attention at the beginning. A captivating heading, summary, crucial to your audience. And there's something called, I'm going to call, well, use a number of TLAs and acronyms. Bonnie, for example, I was thrilled when I learned about KMB. I love that TLA. So there's another one called TL semicolon DR. Does anyone know what that means? Have they come across that? I'll answer. So TLDR, and you'll see this at the top of a lot of publications, more so in the tech community. But TL, too long, semicolon, didn't read. So that's a little summary. And then they'll have a lot of time, the amount of time it should take to read the page. For example, 5 minutes, 47 seconds. They're warning you, okay, so deep read, get ready, or here's the summary. So summarize, that helps, especially in today's age when people are on mobile phones, uh, tablets, laptops. They're more scanners than they are readers. So write for scanning, write for usability. Get to the point, and then you can elaborate as you go down the page. So title tags, descriptions, headings, crucial. You're allowed on a website one main heading called the H1, and then you have multiple H2s, subheadings, H3s. Think of it like a bibliography. Using generic or vague calls to action. So what's a call to action? If you've written a publication or you've written a research paper and you want people to download it, that would be the call to action. For more information, for the full report, download here. If it's a transactional type site, for example, Amazon, order now. It could be this offer expires in 20 seconds and there's a countdown. So there's a little urgency there. But depending on who your audience is and what you want them to do, if it's informational, download more information, transactional, there's a ton of call to actions. Uh, a lame or vague call to action would be click here. That's the most common and probably the most overused and least performing. So, or underperforming. And then we want, let's move this bar up here, experience. So go back there, sorry. Okay, apologize for that. Focus on rankings versus user experience. So a lot of people, what they will try to do is just rank for certain keyword or keywords or terms. So what do we call that? Vanity rankings. So they want to rank because they're at the top. It looks good. I used to work at the Yellow Pages, and that was well before the internet. And people would change their names, triple A, quadruple A, pet control services, 10 A's pizza delivery service. That's the same thing as optimizing strictly for rankings. That's gone. You want to rank now. Ranking is important, but it's more about the user experience. However, if you're not found, the user cannot have an experience. So it's a very fine balance between the two, and we'll show you how to do that as well. So website content 101. Three content types out there, which we'll cover off on. But we want to do first is what we want to do is identify the content. So we've identified the search intent. Is it informational? Is it navigational? Is it transactional? Now the types of content. And this is taken directly from what's called Google's Search Quality Rater Guideline. It's a document close to 300 words, but it talks about everything they're looking for, the types of content, good versus bad content. So if you really need some good bedtime reading and you're interested in SEO, I suggest the Google Search Raters Quality Guidelines. And then purpose and clarity goes back to search intent. You want to be clear, have a very, very, very fine-tuned purpose, and you want it to be accessible. So what are the three types of content on a web page? Main content. So this is any part of the page that directly helps the page achieve its purpose or goal. And it's the very reason the page exists. And that's usually at the top. So if the page, again, is about transacting, it has to be clear. It should be clear. If it's about, again, information, answering questions, let them know. Supplementary content. That can help a page better achieve its purpose. So that would be blogs, FAQ section, could be case studies, could be white papers. So not the main content, but it does help to raise the main content. It's a supplement to. And then advertisements. So some sites, they don't have a lot of money behind them. It could be NGOs. Some do, some don't. It could be a startup, bootstrapped. They may want to start advertising on their site to generate revenue in order to continue the business. That's just the business model. And then there's just other sites that they're strictly all about advertising and getting that pay-per-click. That's how Google makes their money, actually. You usually see at the top of the page, the results comes their sponsored, and then below, usually comes maps, and then below the organic. But sponsored is how they make their money. So bottom line, use your best judgment and consider the purpose of the page. Uh, it should always tie back to the user experience. Is it going to help the user have a good experience? Is it going to help them get what they want? So that should be top of mind. Web page anatomy. So when we talk about web page anatomy, there are certain elements to a page that Google looks at. Some will look at it, or some Google looks at a little more closely than others, some not. So for example, if we're looking at this page here, can everyone see it clearly? I'm assuming so. Okay, we want the URL. So the URL can really, especially if you're a new company or a new business, uh, if you can build the keywords right into your URL. So let's say you're a veterinarian in Regina. So www.reginaveterinarian.com.ca. So right there in the URL. I mean, talk about relevance, which plays into it to a large degree. That is incredibly relevant. Stand alone, take away the website, just put the URL up there on a whiteboard and ask someone what they do. Regina or Saskatchewan, veterinarian Saskatchewan, veterinarian Regina, service plus city. If you can do that, fantastic. Early people to the internet back in the 90s, you'll see cars.com, you'll see pets.com, you'll see fooddelivery.com. And that is a business unto itself. People actually buy and sell and resell URLs. It's a huge business. So that matters. However, if you've been around for a while and your URL is already set and it doesn't have those keywords in it, there's still ways to become relevant, to help make it relevant. Title tag. So that is what you'll see in the search results. Title tag is extremely important and another indicator that Google looks at to determine the topic of the page. So what a lot of people do, they put home for the home page, service for the services page, about for the about page. However, for the home page, and here's another quick win, if you do have just home, um, what's your service? Let's say you're a hair salon. So you want the title tag to be hair salon plus if you're serving that particular city, and then your name for branding. And then also in the description tag, you want a very helpful, useful description tag. In the SERPs, the search engine results pages, you'll see that blue hyperlink, title tag, and then below a little description summary, description tag. Those can be optimized to really help entice someone to click through to your site. And that's part of the game. Ranking and then getting that conversion, that click through. And then hopefully they take the desired action on your website that you want them to. Headers, we talked about headers. You're allowed one main header and multiple subheaders, H1, H2, H3, up to H6. And they should follow a logical structure. Again, not just about stuffing them with keywords, but helping the reader to get to the point. Think about a funnel. You want them to go somewhere. You're leading them there. Links and anchor text. So when we talk about links from an SEO standpoint, this is critical. It can really help or make or break your website. So what type of links are there? There's internal links. So from your home page to other pages on your site that you want people to find. You have several services. You'd list them on your home page, hyperlink them to that particular service, and not just click here, but use keyword-rich anchor text. That's the link text. So you're a hair salon, one of your services is hair coloring. That would be hyperlinked and would lead them to the hair coloring page. On the hair coloring page, uh, you would want information about hair coloring. So it's relevant. It all flows and it makes sense. There's also external links for people that are looking for uh, optimization opportunities with links. Now, let me just take a step back. A lot of people think linking away from their site to elsewhere will detract. Well, that's going to take them off my site. Yeah, to a degree, but if you're linking, especially if it's a medical educational publication, for example, when COVID came out. So if you're dealing with a COVID policy, uh, you would want to link from your site to perhaps the government's official COVID policy page related to, I was dealing with at one point a public swimming pool, 4 public swimming pools, 4 food service vendors, 4 restaurants. Like they had a policy for everyone and everything. So that builds authority, credibility, and relevance into the site too. But you want to make sure that you're linking to a high authority site, a .org, a .edu, um, something that is going to benefit you. And the best part, if you can, you want them high linking, reputable, authoritative sites to link to you. That shows Google that you're worthy. Every link that you get from a high domain authority site uh, shows Google that you're trustworthy. The more you get, the better your results are going to be, the higher you're going to rank. So, and that's a whole art unto itself, link building. Internal links, that's the on-page SEO. You have control over that. External, where you link to, you have control over that. But who links to you? That's a little different now. So
So,
you have to
Ray,
write, yeah.
um, going back, well, first of all, it sounds like it's all about reciprocity, just like most of the folks on this call are doing in their real life relationships. That can easily be transferred over into the digital world through linking back and forth with each other. But going back to keywords, um, can you use keywords too much?
Yeah, that goes back to the keyword stuffing. And you definitely can. Another problem as time evolved, like it used to be that, let's say you want to rank for, well, let's see, what's a term? So in my case, SEO copywriting or SEO copywriter. So there used to be a thing called keyword density, whereby people would actually say, okay, if you have 1,000-page document or web page, you would want your term to show up at least 5%. So at least 50 times on that 1,000-word page document. And after a while, it starts sounding repetitive and it starts sounding robotic. It doesn't sound like it was written by a human for a human. Then came in what's called latent semantic indexing. So, uh, semantic, there are other ways to say SEO copywriting, content writing, web writing, uh, internet or online writing, online writer that still have the same context, but they're not pounding that word down the funnel. You know what I mean? So you want to do that. You want to mix it up. Google's smart. The LLMs are smart. They'll get the context. It's not all about content. So good question.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, I think a lot of us sort of knowledge mobilization rises to the top as a keyword for most of us. So we can use that too often. I think with all major terms, we find that happening in academia and outside of academia. But no, this is great. Great advice. So keep your keywords to a minimum. Link with people so that they can link back to you. And so what's your next piece? Let's go forward.
okay. I was going to talk about featured snippets and AI overviews quickly. Um, if you go to a Google, for example, you do a search on a particular topic, up comes this big block of text. That's called a featured snippet. You go to Search GPT or even on Google, you type in another query, up comes this big block of text, and that's a featured snippet on Google, AI overview from one of the LLMs. That means that it's rewarded. Google really likes it. It hits the point. So you want to get those two, and there's a way to optimize for those. So moving
So Ray,
on,
Alex has a question
okay.
about keywords and tags. Alex writes, if I write a blog and I use the same 6 tags, blood supply system, to locate the blog in site searches, is this going to reflect negatively in a better SEO? You say mixing it up could be better. And then she adds little tags being transplantation, organs, tissues, plasma, stems, cells, transfusions, and blood. What advice can you give, Alex?
So that's for a blog.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, that's a really good question. There's not one straight answer, and I hate this answer, but it depends. Uh, One thing we really haven't talked about, and we didn't won't get into too deep, is you want to do competitive research as well. So where's it going to come up? Well, who's coming up now? How competitive is it? Uh, think about the term, think about the area. I mean, that term in Wawa, not so competitive. That term in downtown Toronto, uh, downtown Vancouver, probably a little more competitive. So that should guide you partially. There are tools out there that can help you determine matching terms, similar terms, but you don't want to use that. For example, if it's a 500-word blog, uh, putting the saying, blood services or blood work donations 6 times, you can do it. You'd want to do it intelligently. Um, Pro tip, you want that in the title tag, you'd want that in the description tag, you'd want it in the first probably 100 words, the first paragraph of the page, because Google considers what's at the top of the page to be the most important information. And then you'd probably want it in a couple of titles or headers, links, linking out with that link text as well, internal links with that link text. But you can use some semantics too. So there's one tool I use. It's called the TF IDF tool, and it gives you a whole list of related terms with the same context, just to break it up. So again, look at the competition. That'll give you a sense of what you have to do. Um, find some gaps. Perhaps there's some terms they're not missing. Uh, what makes them successful? I will reverse engineer a site that is ranking at the top. Okay, what's making it rank there? And yeah, those are some real quick wins. And if you want to learn more about that, you can contact me after. I'm happy to go through and share some of this information with you. Uh, Anything else, Bonnie? Did I answer that, or would you like to go further into it?
I think you got it right.
Okay.
So you mentioned Google business profiles a
Yes.
couple of times. And I noticed there's not many people on the call have a Google business profile or even know what that is or what it does. Could we maybe discuss that a little bit?
Yes. So, would you like to jump into it now?
Yeah, so I'll just preface this by saying when Ray was fiddling around with my Google business profile, which I didn't know existed at the time, uh, he actually showed me in real time how a few tweaks actually made my name appear higher in the Google search. So I think this is something that you'll find exciting. Take it away, Ray.
Okay. Well, first, I'm going to do this is my Google profile. So, and let me add a little context here. I hope everyone can see. If I do a search here for, let's say, SEO, copywriter, Toronto. Okay, so what we see, can everyone see this? Everyone there? Hello?
Yes, we can see
Oh,
it.
sorry. Okay. So at the top, you're going to see here's a search query and sponsored. So they're always going to come top. And so here I am writing web words. This is the organic. I'm coming up twice. If I do a search SEO copywriter, certain things trigger it in Toronto. Now we bring up that featured snippet I was talking about, and this is the AI overview. This is from Gemini, and then it has me listed here. I don't mean to boast or brag, but for lack of a better example, in a hurry, I want to just get you here. So this is what you want. You want to come up at the top and you want to dominate. So this is real estate. The more cars you have on the track, the more visibility you're going to get. So as far as the local pack goes, so we start off with the overview, sponsored, and then we go to what's called Google Maps. This is what Bonnie's talking about. It used to be called Google Maps. It's actually now called Google Business Profile. And if you don't have one and you want one, that's one of the things that I do specialize in, and I can help you, guide you. And that's one of the things I did for Bonnie. She actually had one, but it wasn't optimized. And this can make a world of difference to a real quick win. So when it comes to maps, and again, goes back to that example of the hair salon I used earlier. So local hair salon, Regina, some other smaller city. So here I am, SEO copywriter, Toronto, and it shows you a map. Usually there's 3 at the top, and then usually even more at the bottom. But here's my local profile. I click it on, and it opens up into what's called a knowledge panel. And I could do or put a whole bunch of information in here that does really help. So I have pictures, I have a description, I have reviews. Reviews are huge. The more reviews you get, the better your profile is going to rank for your certain terms. There's topics too. So I can also add little posts. I could put my address, the hours I'm open, my phone number, links. I can even pose questions and answer them myself. Here's some of the posts I did. They're little like mini blogs, 1,500 characters per, and these can really help. And you can add your social profiles too, which I do. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest if you're on there. The list goes on. You have total control over this when we talk about on page. So, very good question. And if we go into, I won't spend too much time here, into the actual back end or dashboard, again, you can really manipulate, well, I hate that word manipulate, but determine what comes up. So you have a topic, you have a key topic, and then you have a number of supplementary topics. So in my case, for the profile, it's copywriting service. That's my main one. Description, opening date, contact number. And this is one of the most underutilized tools when it comes to being found online and one of the most effective. And so few people use it, optimize it, maximize it regularly. But like anything else, it has to be updated. It has to be taken care of. So holidays come up. Uh, Mention that you're going to be off what days. If you're a restaurant, you can do bookings. You can actually book appointments online here. So that's a good idea of what the Google Business Profile is. And while we're on the subject, that falls under what's called Maps. If I go to the Maps section, I get a different view, which should come up. Whoops. Okay. And here we go. So here's a list of me and even more information. And you should see a few competitors down at the bottom as well. Now, going back here, talk about areas of optimization. When you do go to Google, you're going to see up top, you're going to see, so all. All is all encompassing. You're going to see images. You can optimize for images so that they come up in the images. When people are just looking under that, videos you can optimize for. If you're in forums, you can optimize that your name comes up, and so on. There's so many opportunities here that we just don't have the time to cover all of them. So is there anything else while we're here, Bonnie, that you want to cover off on? Or? Bonnie, anything else you can think of?
Sorry, Alex is going to reach out to you afterwards about the TFIDF tool that you mentioned.
Okay.
Uh, Maybe you can talk a little bit more about those tools. Is there a free version? Is there like a free tool out there that can help with that, or
They
is it
they
most?
may have a trial version, and that's just one of them. There's so many that I do use. So yeah, it's not just about one. I mean, it's about finding the best one for you. That works for me. And that's a very well-known tool. I mean, when it comes to uh, semantic searches, latent semantic indexing and so forth. I just like that tool. It also shows you competitors, who is ranking for that term, and it shows you as well, it'll tell you what you're optimized for. It'll tell you here's some missed opportunities, and it'll also tell you where you may be penalized if you're overusing a certain term. Google will find that or determine it as keyword stuffing. So that's what I like about that tool. But Alex, reach out. I'm here. Any other questions about that? Okay. If not, we'll move on. So common pitfalls, and this is a content framework that actually Bonnie put together. So well done, Bonnie. And it really does check a lot of the boxes. So be clear, know your audience, write for your audience, optimize. A lot of sites, again, are not optimized. I can't tell you how many sites I come across where the home page, which is the most important page in probably 90% of the cases, just says home. If you're optimizing for home, great. But most people want more. They want to be found. Numbered lists and listicles. Does anyone know what a listicle is? You've seen it probably 1,000 times. A listicle is, uh, let's say, a list, maybe a top 10, a top 20, married an article. You get the listicle. So at the top, perhaps the top 20 best SEO copywriting companies in Toronto or in Canada or in July of 2025. So Google loves lists and listicles and the structure. So that's one way to build up your rankings. Show you how to do that. Trust. So that goes into another acronym that we're going to touch on. Content has to be trustworthy, as especially if you're talking about uh, subjects that can potentially have the power to harm someone. When I say harm, I'm talking about affect their life. So let's say medical advice, weight loss advice, people making incredible claims about weight loss. Take this weight loss pill and in 2 weeks you'll lose 25 pounds. Or let's say investing advice. Those are sites that if people follow and they're not, on the up and up, it can damage someone's life, really hurt them. So there's a special category for those. You want as well trust plus engagement. Engagement is huge, especially when you talk about, especially on social media, Twitter, LinkedIn. It's all about engagement and the right engagement. Navigation. Make your site easily navigable. So intuitive. I read a book years ago on this called Don't Make Me Think. So within 1 to 2 clicks, an individual should be able to get where they want to. It's a 2-click rule. Uh, Three, I would say, sometimes three, but if it takes them more than 2 or 3 to get to where they want to go, probably not going to be the best user experience. And test and edit more than once. especially if you're using LLMs to generate content. You want to ensure that it is trustworthy and accurate. So moving on, this is that category I talked about, YMYL, your money or your life. Google has a special category for this. And again, it's held to a higher standard for medical, financial, and legal content because those sites have the power to affect someone's life. As I mentioned earlier, Bonnie and I did a presentation for a very well-known hospital in Toronto, and they were very on top of this with regards to privacy policy, terms and conditions, and they actually said, as far as LLMs go, uh, don't take them at face value. So they were very straightforward. Bad information can be harmful. As I alluded to earlier, cite or link to trusted sources, .gov, .universities.edu. Ensure accuracy, fact check. Use clear, accessible language. And that goes to another specialty of Bonnie's, plain language. Uh, I believe part of knowledge mobilization is ensuring that technical language, perhaps industry specific, is written so that it's accessible by a wider audience and findable. Avoid misleading claims and overpromising. That goes back to the YMYL. So that is a category. Best practices, list and linking, numbered list and listicles. Here's an example here. So this presentation will be sent out to everyone. Internal links we talked about, external links, and anchor text. So rather than click here to learn more, if it's about, let's say, veterinarian services, uh, you know, learn more about veterinarian services, hyperlink, you have the keywords right there, and it leads to the veterinarian services page. Avoid generic phrases like click here, learn more, read on. Web writing fundamentals. So findability, we talked about, SEO, navigation, EAT. EAT is incredibly important. What does it stand for? It stands for experience, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. That's what Google's looking when it wants to rank a site or does rank a site. Uh, so there are ways to build EAT into a website. We can talk about that further. I'm happy to explain. A little detailed, though, going through it one-on-one right now. But again, if you are interested, look up Google's helpful content update, and it will dive into this explicitly. And of course, people first. So they're saying don't write for search engines, write for people. However, you do have to satisfy both. You are really writing for two audiences, but focus primarily on the human part. Mobile friendly. This is huge. Everyone thinks that the desktop content is the same as the mobile. They're actually two separate sites, and you want to ensure your site is easy to find, easy to navigate on both. So mobile friendly, more and more people are using their mobile phones, and screen's a little smaller. So some best practices. Uh, ensure your website is responsive and adheres to mobile first indexing. Ensure the important information is above the scroll. Optimize for page speed. Uh, can't I can't tell you how important that is. Uh, maybe 2 seconds if you're lucky, preferably less to download. Simplify navigation, intuitive menus, reduce tap targets, especially for people like me as we get into our 50s and onward. Things become a little more difficult as far as just finding it, especially if it's in a smaller font. Clear and concise content. This has never been more important than it is for mobile. Use short paragraphs and prioritize key information. And there's a continuation to this. If you are transacting on mobile, make sure payment options are mobile friendly, simplified checkouts. Disable pop-ups. They tend to be intrusive. Avoid them if you can. Test on different devices and browsers and simulate user experience for mobile. AI and web content. So going back to Alex, if we talk about, for example, semantic searches or terms, ChatGPT, Perplexity, they can all help you find terms that are relevant to what you're looking for. And this is one of the superpowers that Bonnie has as well. So she can develop prompts. She is a prompt engineer as well that can, you know, find terms related to this that will help me in search engines. So she has that ability. I would say take her up on it if you are looking for that. AI and web content. So simplifies complex information. These LLMs can do that. They can improve readability scores. When we're talking about EDU sites, health sites, education, you're looking for a readability level of about grade 8 to 10. That seems to be that sweet spot. Ensure content aligns with your brand voice. And if you do have a style guideline, great. When Bonnie and I worked with that hospital in Toronto, part of our commitment was to develop a style guide for them as it relates to SEO best practices. They had a 17-person communications team, so everyone had to be on brand, on voice, on tone, on the same site. Hallucinations that may include bias. So I don't know if anyone remembers a couple of years ago, Gemini had a big snafu. Turns out George Washington was not white at the time, so this happens, and it's more common than you think. That's why you must proofread, you must edit, you must verify. Again, one of Bonnie's specialties. Always review and edit AI-generated content. Don't take it at its word. At the bottom of ChatGPT, the bottom of all these LLMs, it says, ChatGPT makes mistakes. Like it'll say, we're not infallible, so check.
Yeah, always check. It only takes a second, but mistakes happen and you can't take them back. Somebody's already screenshotted it by the time you recognize it, so you can't take them back. But this was great, Ray. Now we have a few minutes left for questions. Ray is happy to stick around for a few minutes after the hour, but to field your questions. If you have to go, just please go and get on with your day, and the recording will be up shortly after, hopefully by tomorrow, and then you can check out some of the questions. You're welcome, Alex. Alex, I believe, is going to reach out to you, Ray. I
Okay.
sent her your email.
Well, it seems we're
Uh,
coming to the end, and I appreciate your time. Um, I do want to make this offer because I do appreciate being here. I am offering a 30-minute SEO audit on your website. It's free for anyone that participates today. Feel free to reach out. I'm happy to do that. Alex, whenever you are available, let's talk. And if you found this presentation at all useful, valuable, interesting, uh, feel free
just
to leave. Pardon me?
let us know and head on over to Ray's Google business profile and leave a comment.
Or a review. A review would be great. It's the currency of the internet. So if you do,
Yeah,
wonderful. And again, that offer stands. I'm happy to offer that audit to anyone interested. I'll leave it there. Thank you so much. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, KM in the AM.
awesome. Well, it was wonderful to have you here, Ray, and I learned a lot, and I hope you guys did too. Ray, you can stay on the call a bit, and we'll let other people go. So if you guys have to go on with your day, please feel free to do so. However, if you do want to have a bit of a mini session with Ray, hang out, and you can talk directly with Ray, and he might even be able to show you a few tricks on your own website. Let's see, a few people are
Either that or I've
hanging.
answered everyone's question, all of them.
It's great. So if you're hanging out, please let us know that you're behind the keyboard there and not just letting your computer run in the background, which is something I've done during webinars. But yeah, no, good job, great job. Lots of information. I learned a whole lot today. and I
My
think
pleasure.
some other folks as well. And oh, there we go. And Lila Wagner, are